of year where everything in my kitchen tends to get like extra cozy and delicious. And if you are in my house, you know Myra Berg, my mom loves soup. So it's like soup season through and through. So today I'm gonna make a classic fall recipe that we absolutely love in my house. This is my potato leek soup with crispy fried leeks on top. Yeah. Now, personally, I like a pureed soup. Yes, every once in a while I like a little bit of chunk here and there or something like that, kind of more like a noodly soup. But like a pureed soup is so good. It's comforting, it's creamy, it's totally delicious. So the first thing we need to do to get to work on that soup is get some butter in a pan because everything is better with a little bit of butter in it. So I've got a pan. Yes, this audience gets it. We know what's up. All right, so I've got my pan over about medium heat right now, and I'm gonna go in with 2 tablespoons of butter. Now, first off, if you ever buy your butter in like a stick like this, basically that's a quarter of one of these sticks, because fun fact, one of these sticks is half a cup, just in case anybody wants to know what I think about all the time. Butter measurements, very good. All right, so I'm gonna add that butter in and just let that get to melting down. Now, for this potato leek soup, obviously we need some leeks. Typically when I'm cooking soup or really anything, I usually start with some sort of onion, whether it's a shallot, a yellow onion, a red onion, but leeks probably have to be my all-time favorite of the onion family. First off, they look like they're in a rock and roll punk band. They're very exciting. If you put like googly eyes right here, are you kidding me? What a hoot. But honestly, they're not tricky to work with. They cook down, they get really sweet, really tender, and you don't really need to add garlic, because I find they have a little bit of a garlicky flavor. The only tricky thing about leeks is if you look at the way that they're structured, they've got petals, similar to a normal onion, but they actually grow up through dirt, so they get really dirty. Do you see that little bit of gunk right there? So anytime I am looking to clean my leeks, I slice them up first, nice and thin. Now you just wanna work with the white part and then the light green part. This is a little tough for this soup. If you were roasting them or braising them slowly, that works, but just save that for something like a stock or something and you're good to go. But give them a nice thin slice and then put them in a big bowl of water. Cover them in water and just give them a little bit of a shush around, because essentially what that's gonna do is it's gonna break apart all those little petals and leaves, and any dirt and debris is basically gonna fall to the bottom. Now, as opposed to straining this like you would pretty much anything else that you're washing, I don't want you to do that, because that's gonna mix all of the stuff that's settled on the bottom back into those leeks. So what I'm gonna get you to do is actually just like pick them up and drop them in that pan, because I don't mind a little bit of extra water in here. We are making potato leek soup, and you're not actually supposed to get a ton of color there. So the water actually helps stop the caramelization, and you're just gonna get soft, tender leeks. So just pick them up, add them on into that butter. You're looking for that little bit of a sizzle. And as soon as those leeks hit the onion, or the butter, they get that beautiful soft oniony flavor. It smells absolutely out of control, really, really tasty. And the thing I love about leeks is they cook down creamy, like they get soft and sweet and totally delish. So that's 2 leeks that I've sliced up and added into those 2 tablespoons of butter. I'm gonna season that up with a little bit of salt, as well as a little bit of pepper. Now the salt's gonna help pull out some of the moisture, which helps these cook down quicker. And you wanna cook these down over that medium heat for about 10-ish minutes. Then once those 10 minutes are done, turn the heat down to medium-low and let this keep going for about 10 to 15 minutes. That kind of low and slow cooking process is gonna give you these softest, sweetest, most delicious leeks. And you end up with something that looks like this. Like really cooks down. There's hardly any leeks left in there, but they look absolutely fantastic and they smell so good. There's something about leeks to me, I don't know if it's because I typically pair them with like bacon or pork, but it kind of smells like bacon. Does that make sense to anyone else? Leeks are the onion that taste and smell kind of like bacon. I don't understand, maybe it's just a me thing, but they're really good. So into those leeks that have cooked down for that nice long time, I'm gonna add in my potatoes. Now I am using a low starch potato. Something like a Yukon Gold is absolutely perfect. You want about 350 grams of potatoes. That's like about 2 large Yukon Golds or 3 smaller ones. Give it a peel and chop it into a nice fine dice, something about a centimeter-ish. That's gonna cook up nice and quickly. So I'm gonna add those potatoes into that pot as well. And then season that up again with a bit more salt. Anytime you add anything, especially to a soup, you wanna season it as you add everything, because again, it's gonna build that flavor, help make everything taste exactly like how it's supposed to. It's not gonna be overly salty, trust me. Just hold back a little bit if you're worried about it. Clearly I'm not, but that's okay. All right, give that a stir just to combine everything together. And you might notice I'm not putting garlic in here because I find leeks have a little bit of a garlicky flavor. If you want to add garlic, feel free. I would do that kind of during that second 10 to 15 minutes of the leek cooking. But honestly, you don't need it and you don't miss it. Also, garlic sometimes upsets my mom's stomach. so I've left it out. So we're good to go. All right. Now into there, I'm also gonna go in with my broth or my stock. I am using some vegetable broth here, but you could easily use chicken broth. Anytime I'm buying like the prepared stuff at the grocery store, I always go for the one that's low sodium. It doesn't really taste any different. It has way less sodium in it, obviously. So I can control the salt because I don't want all that kind of hidden stuff going on. So I'm gonna go in with about 3 to 3.5 cups. Add that on in. Just enough to cover, and then you wanna bring that up to a boil. So you crank the heat to high, bring that up to a boil, pop a lid on, and you wanna let that go for about 15 minutes. The rhyme of this recipe is 15 minutes. Basically 15 minutes for the first chunk of leeks, 15 minutes again, 15 minutes for the potatoes until they're nice and tender. And then you end up, we're gonna do a little DJ, kitchen DJ, with something that looks like this. Those potatoes are cooked down, they're beautiful and tender. The leeks are even sweeter and even more delicious. So right now, she's not the cutest thing in the world, but it's a little chunky. Again, I want that nice, smooth, delicious soup. So I'm gonna use an immersion blender. If you don't have one of these, honestly, this is one of my favorite kitchen gadgets. It's way easier to clean than a traditional blender. You can puree any amount of food. Even if you had like a witch's cauldron, you could puree everything going on in there, which is great. You don't have to do it in batches. If you only have a traditional stand blender, feel free to use that. Just make sure you remove that vent cap off the top. Put a towel on top, or else that's gonna just explode all over your kitchen. You're gonna have soup on the ceiling, which is not good soup. Only type of soup I don't like. So I'm just gonna give this a bit of a puree. Now, typically when I'm working with potatoes, you don't actually wanna agitate them all that much. You don't wanna get them really, really pureed with like a blender, because it does make them gummy. But with the amount of leeks and with the amount of delicious stock in here, it's not gonna do that. It's just gonna get nice and beautiful. So see it, it's getting nice and creamy. If you want to feel fancy and serve this cold, you could call it a vichyssoise, which feels very fun, very French. All right, perfect. That is creamy and smooth. It looks amazing. Now, I like a little bit of something, obviously, extra creamy in here. So if you wanted to, you could go in with cream, but I'm gonna go in with milk today. We're pulling back. Mary's pulling back a bit. It's rare. But I want about 2 cups of milk in there. That's gonna bring extra depth, extra fat, and a little bit extra creaminess into there. So just pour that in. It lightens the soup up a little bit too. Gives you a really nice flavor. Give that a stir. And I just wanna keep this warm over low heat until I am ready to serve. If you wanna add more broth, less broth to make it a little bit thicker, feel free, but to me, this looks like the perfect soup. But I wanna add a little bit of garnish onto this. Now, do you have to do this? No. You do not, but it does add a little bit of crunch and texture, which I absolutely love. I'm gonna make homemade crispy leeks. If you didn't wanna do it, you could just buy those like bag of crispy fried onions. I'm not gonna lie, that on top, delicious. But they're super easy to make as well. So again, here we've got 1 leek that I've thinly sliced up. I've sliced it on the half round, absolutely perfect, just like I did for that soup. If you wanted to, get a little chefy, you could cut them into longer bits and do like matchsticks. They're a little bit more like a kind of French fry situation. Really, really tasty. But if I were to put these leeks straight on into oil, they're really delicate. So they would get burnt and kind of charred really quickly and not give me that crisp. They just taste kind of bitter. So I wanna give them a little bit of a protective coating. This is similar to if you're frying chicken and you want a little bit of crisp on the outside. Essentially what we wanna make is a dredge. So I've got a bowl here, and into there I'm gonna add in about 1/4 cup of the ultimate crunch factor in your kitchen, and that is cornstarch. It doesn't look like much, but this stuff is all about crisp, 0% about anything golden brown color. So it's gonna give you crunchy, but it's never gonna turn that golden brown. So you just wanna be careful when you're frying with it. If you do want a bit of golden brown, add a little bit of flour into your cornstarch, because that likes to toast up, obviously. All right, so about 1/4 cup of that's gonna go in. We're being very, very devil may care with the measurements, because you know what? It's gonna be fine. Now, I'm gonna season that up with a little bit of salt. You could add in some pepper as well if you're feeling it. And then I've got that leek. Now this leek is nice and dry, because everybody knows that obviously water and oil, worst enemies, you do not want those to be friends. So these are nice and dry. Once you wash them, pop them in a salad spinner, give them a good kind of thing, and then just spread them out just until they're nice and dry. I'm gonna add that into that cornstarch mixture, and then just give that a toss around. Now, these are so thin and fine. They coat up really, really nicely. That cornstarch is gonna give a little protective barrier, so this is not gonna go like golden brown, crunchy, crunchy, bitter. It's just gonna get crispy and beautiful. So give that a toss just until it's nice and coated. And then again, using your hand just like we did for the leeks earlier, I'm gonna actually take these out, scatter them off a bit, and add them into some canola oil. So I've got about, I'd say 2 centimeters-ish of canola oil in this pot over about medium heat. If you want to, you could do this in olive oil as well because we're frying really, really quickly. So just pick it up, give it a little bit of a shaky, and then just add that into that hot oil. Like, what a delight. Honestly, I understand not everybody loves to fry things at home, but oh my gosh, there's nothing like it. Crispy, crunchy. These fry up in no time, so keep your eye on them. Give them a little bit of a stir, because you want to keep them moving. That's gonna get crunchy, only gonna take about 30 seconds to a minute. Again, they're not gonna get a ton of color, but they do start looking a little, I don't know how to describe it. Kind of crispy, I guess we're just gonna call it. That's what those look like. Again, give them a little bit of a stir. Let them keep going until they are golden brown. This also works really well if you want to fry up some shallots or some onion. Just thinly slice it, add it into that cornstarch, and then just fry them in a little bit of oil. Again, if you're looking for the easy way out though, feel free to just buy a bag of those fun little onions and you are good to go. All right, they're almost there. Basically, when you're frying something like a vegetable, you're looking to remove some of that water. So when you saw it all bubble up, that's a lot of that water cooking out immediately. And the final kind of fry portion is just that extra little bit of moisture so these get nice and crunchy. All right, this is starting to look good to me. While those keep frying, I'm gonna finish off my soup. So over here, I've got that soup. It's delicious. It cooks up relatively quickly, but I want something bright and delicious going on in there as well. So I'm gonna add in the juice of about half of a lemon. You could go in with the zest. I feel very un-Mary Berg not using the zest right now, but we want a nice smooth soup. And this is where you get to taste and adjust with how you want this to go. So give it a little bit of a taste. And if you're feeling, I don't know, it needs a bit more salt, a little bit more pepper. Maybe it needs a little bit more roundness. I'm going for roundness, I'm not gonna lie. So this is not in the recipe, so you have to watch this episode of The Good Stuff to know this. I'm just gonna throw in some Parmesan cheese, because that's gonna give me kind of umami savoriness into there. So I just got a hunk here, and I'm just gonna grate in, probably not an insignificant amount, because cheesy potato and leek soup, to be honest, I'm kind of kicking myself. Why didn't I think of that in the first place? But you could easily do this with pecorino. A little bit of cheddar in there would be absolutely delicious as well. Even like a Gruyere would be a little, again, kind of northern France. All right, give that a stir. Taste and season. This is my favorite part, is that tasting and seasoning as you, I got hair on my face. Wow, okay, cool. This is my favorite part of any time I'm cooking at home. Yes, the recipe didn't call for cheese, but you taste it, and if you think it needs cheese, add that cheese. If you think it needs a little bit more lemon or something acidic, a little bit of vinegar, something like that would be absolutely beautiful. Starting to get golden brown on those, let those keep going. But let's give this a taste again. Okay, 1, 2, 3. The cheese did it. Oh my gosh. I was a little worried, but the cheese did it. Absolutely stunning. All right, these leeks are looking a little golden brown, so I'm gonna take them on out of that oil. Spread them out onto a nice paper towel lined sheet pan. And you can see there's little bits of golden brown. That green's a little bit brighter, but it's not overly golden brown. That's totally cool, because that's exactly what we're looking for. So now I'm gonna bring my soup right on over here, and we're gonna serve this baby up. Now, I love a soup. I typically double this recipe because then you get so much extra soup and you get to eat it all week long. But I'm gonna grab those Crispies. Now, for a little bit of extra richness as well, I love serving this with some sour cream, because I love a sour cream dollop on a soup. So just give a nice ladleful into your bowl. It's nice, it's creamy. I missed a potato, but it's gonna be delicious. You win if you find the potato that I didn't puree. And then a little bit of that sour cream right in the middle, floating around like a little island. And then those crispy fried leeks, give them a little bit of salt almost as soon as they come out of the oil, because they're gonna be absolutely delish. Just do a nice little pile right on top of that sour cream. And you are in for an absolute treat. I'm very excited about this. Let's give it a taste. Okay. LOL, not like I've been tasting it the whole time. That's the secret of cooking. You get to eat it before everybody else does. Okay. The sour cream makes it. Those crispy leeks, totally delish. Hey, Mary here. What did you think? Drop your comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more of The Good Stuff.